Good evening and welcome, friends, to this Sunday edition of This is Exclusive. Remember, it's a big day both at home and abroad. Big day in India because the BJP came out with its manifesto, and it's going to be a matter of political conversation for a couple of days, perhaps at least. And then, of course, the general election cycle. But more importantly, outside India, are we heading close to a third world war situation? Because remember, Iran carried out retaliatory strikes against Israel after Israel had hit the consulate compound of Iran in Damascus, Syria. Now, as of now, it seems that the two sides are still contemplating what next. So there is no escalation happening immediately, but whether it happens or not, that's going to be the focus of our conversation. And this is exclusive. We have, in fact, a very exclusive interaction with External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar, in which he makes a comment on the ongoing Israel-Iran situation for the first time. Let's begin with the headlines first.
विकसित भारत के 4 मजबूत स्तंभ युवा शक्ति, नारी शक्ति, गरीब, किसान, इन सभी को सशक्त करता है।
Big pro-people promises in BJP's manifesto: free electricity, continuation of free ration scheme for the poor. BJP hails Modi ki guarantee manifesto. Yogi Adityanath says PM Modi's vision is our mission.
देखना ये और उसको विश्वास करना ये ठीक नहीं है। इससे ये साबित होता है कि लोगों के लिए उन्हें कुछ देने के लिए उनके पास नहीं है।
Atishi says BJP's manifesto is a jumla. Kharge says promises are all lies. Iran mounts aerial attack on Israel with drones, missiles in retaliation to the attack on an Iranian consulate building in Damascus.
आज विश्व में अनिश्चितता के बादल छाए हुए, युद्ध की स्थिति बनी हुई, संकट के ऐसे समय में इन क्षेत्रों में रह रहे भारतीयों की सुरक्षा ये हमारी प्राथमिकता है।
Prime Minister Modi issues a statement as Middle East conflict rises, says security of Indians is the top priority. Iran, in a letter to the United Nations, emphasizes that it will not hesitate to exercise its inherent right of self-defense when required. Welcome back. Iran has launched an unprecedented drone and missile attack on Israel after pledging retaliation for a strike on its consular building in Syria. Remember, according to reports, Iran launched over 200 drones and missiles at Israel, as its proxies and allies also carried out coordinated attacks on Israeli positions. Now, Iran insists it acted in self-defense after the targeting of its diplomatic mission in Damascus. Let's look at how the story is being responded to. Then I come back with a panel of guests for our conversation.
Rise in the Middle East, global leaders are keeping a close watch on the conflict. Let's talk about the latest on the Israel-Iran war. Iran's top leadership and military commanders have claimed that the attacks on Israel are nothing but punishment to its act of malice. Referring to the attack on its High Commission in Damascus, Al-Khamenei said that the attack was unpardonable. Listen in.
عملیات از نظر ما خاتمه یافته است و قصدی بر ادامه این عملیات وجود نداره، اما چنانچه رژیم صهیونیستی اقدامی رو علیه جمهوری اسلامی ایران چه در خاک ما و چه در مراکز متعلق به ما در کشور سوریه یا جای دیگری انجام بده، عملیات بعدی ما بسیار بزرگتر از این انجام خواهد شد.
بخش از اصابت‌هایی که ما گزارشات دقیق و مستند و میدانی از اونها داریم نشون دهنده این است که این عملیات با موفقیتی بیش از حد انتظار ما اتفاق افتاده.
Israel meanwhile claims redemption while rallying behind its right to defend itself. The Israeli military has said that their forces thwarted 99% of over 300 drones and missiles launched towards its state.
אמש איראן פתחה במתקפה נגד ישראל ושיגרה יותר מ-300 איומים מסוגים שונים. האיום האיראני פגש את העליונות האווירית והטכנולוגית של צה"ל בשילוב קואליציה לוחמת חזקה שיחד ירתו את רובם המכריע של האיומים.
The onslaught in the Middle East stems from a recent strike on Iranian consular building in Syria, which killed 7 Iranian officials and 3 generals. The Iranian regime retaliated with a significant barrage of 170 drones, over 30 cruise missiles, and more than 120 ballistic missiles. On the other hand, the UK and the US have assured to help Israel defend its nation. In fact, the UK has deployed more Royal Air Force jets to thwart any aerial attack from beyond enemy lines.
Well, last night Iran launched a barrage of missiles and attack drones across the Middle East towards Israel. This was a dangerous and unnecessary escalation, which I've condemned in the strongest terms. Thanks to an international coordinated.
US President Joe Biden, on the other hand, has issued a stern warning to Iran. Biden's message to Al-Khamenei was very bold and clear. Just don't.
We are devoted to the defense of Israel. We will support Israel. We will help defend Israel, and Iran will not succeed.
This latest surge of attacks have sparked global attention. World leaders have condemned the Israel-Iran war, while defense experts mull on the future of the Middle East.
This is an unprecedented attack by the Islamic Republic of Iran on the state of Israel. Multiple thresholds have been crossed here that have not been crossed before. I think it is correct to say that we're going to be looking at a new Middle East in the future. What we're seeing as we speak is Iran, the world's worst state sponsor of terrorism, directly attacking Israel, our closest and most reliable ally in the Middle East. And I think now is truly the time for the United States to stand with Israel, to help protect it, and to make Iran regret this attack.
As we speak, the Iron Dome, Israel's most elite air defense system, is constantly monitoring the aerial activities. So far, it has been able to ward off the drone attack, and the allies are on standby to help Israel defend itself. The biggest question on everyone's mind is this the beginning of the Third World War? Agency Report, Republic TV.
All right, we had India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar also respond to this emerging crisis, speaking exclusively to Republic. Listen in. And you have spoken with a lot of clarity on some aspects which people would have thought was silent in the manifesto. My last question to you, sir, when you say India is Vishwa Bandhu, how do we, for example, approach the ongoing crisis in Middle East from that vantage, where we can perhaps counsel both the sides, that statement actually, that position actually getting reflected in the statement of MEA today, but how can we actually make it sure that escalation does not happen?
Well, look, when we took a position on the Ukraine conflict, a lot of people questioned it. Today, those very same countries, many of them, are coming around to the recognition that what we were advocating was actually very wise. Right now, I can tell you there are 200 countries in the world and many of them, probably all of them in some form or the other, would be affected, directly affected, if this crisis, if the violence in the Middle East, in the Gulf, in West Asia gets worse. We speak for a majority of countries in the world who say, look, calm it down, don't escalate matters, because, what happened yesterday night was an escalatory development. So we today believe that there should be calming down of this, that, a lot of us actually must come together to see how there is a better way of dealing with it than by recourse to violence.
All right, let's try to understand what's really panning out in the Middle East. Joining me, General G.D. Bakshi, our go-to man for all defense analysis. Also, Major Gaurav Arya, our in-house strategic affairs expert. And we also have Arjun Hardas, India representative, American Jewish Committee, as also Gregory Perelman. He's joining us live from Israel, and he's an economist and strategist. Very good afternoon to you there, Mr. Perelman, and we would want to understand from you what's really happening on the ground. We heard last reports that the Ben Gurion airport has started functioning again. Is it all calm and peaceful, or is it calm before the storm?
Yes, the situation is not very easy and it's not quiet. It's very alarming. A lot of people are suffering from this night attack. And we need to understand that everybody pray and to try to find a solution, how to prevent escalation and how to find a solution to stop this escalation from all different sides. And from this case, I think it's very, very important just to have a global world opinion from different countries, from different political leaders and social leaders to find a solution how to stop this escalation and potential arising of the third global war. And for this, we need to find a solution. And one of these solutions, it could be immediately, definitely, a special session of the United Nations Council. And also it could be a special summit where could play a role different leaders of the countries like India, Russian Emirates, and Arabic countries, together with Israel and Iran, just to find a solution, what they need to do. And it's a very important question, what is just in our agenda, daily agenda. Yes, but to talk about...
Okay, Arjun Hardas, one way is, as Mr. Perelman is suggesting, that the United Nations should come in, there should be a peace summit or some international effort. I believe the easiest way would be perhaps, Mr. Hardas, to just pull back. Iran says its military objectives are achieved. They don't want to do anything else. Concluded, the mission is concluded. Israel can claim that they defeated 100% or neutralized 100% of if not 100%, maybe 90% of the missiles and projectiles that were coming its way. Minimal is damage, no loss of life. So obviously, both sides can make their own takeaways and pull back, and there would be no escalation, hence no war.
No, that is true. You're right. That's the most ideal solution. But you've got to understand also the dynamics that are at work. One of the biggest Israel's entire history has been that it works on a principle of deterrence. That deterrence took a bad hit on the 7th of October last year. Okay, now this time, this is the first time that Iran has actually directly struck Israel directly from its own territory. This hasn't happened before. Now, it's not a question of how much effect that happened. Had it not, if the defenses hadn't worked, there would have been massive damage. Let's be clear about that. And this is not because there was some plan that the Iranians will not target certain things. They let go of their artillery, of their weapon systems, of their UAVs, their drones, their missiles. They had ballistic missiles. They were not just drones and things like that. Now, all this requires some kind of a response. I am not saying that it has to be necessarily a military response, which means sending the Israeli Air Force into Iran and all that. This is not attacking Damascus or something like that. This is not the same thing. Iran is a very different kettle of fish. Israelis understand these things. What kind of a retaliation will there be? And it has to be done because remember, in the last night there were a number of Arab countries, including Jordan, for example, which actually participated in the shooting down of many of these missiles, of these projectiles. Now they expect that there has to be something. They have taken the side. They've openly taken the side of Israel, the Arab countries, and yet if there is no retaliation and if they're left open for anything that the Iranians can take the revenge on or whatever, either there will be a problem. So there has to be something that Israel has to do. What it does, whether it doesn't have to be, like I said, a weapon or something like that. It can be, let's say, electromagnetic bomb, that blows off there, shuts off everything electronic. It can be something like that. It can be a known kind of a thing. But there has to be something that Israel has to do. Otherwise, there is a serious problem of the loss of deterrence. So there has to be something. Yes, what you have said earlier is that there was no damage, but it was thanks to the Iranians that there was no damage. That's because of the Israeli defense systems ranging from the...
No, it was, of course, no thanks to Iranians. It was obviously because the Israelis have fantastic air defense and it works so well that the Iranians couldn't cause any damage. But General Bakshi, sir, you think if Israel decides that the optics are bad and that they should be seen to be responding, and so they respond, are we risking riding up the escalatory ladder then? General Bakshi, sir.
Precisely. You see, the simple fact is that there has been a paradigm shift last night in the situation in the Middle East. So far, Iran was acting only through its proxies. The three H's, Houthis, Hezbollah, Hamas, and the Shia militia in Iraq and Syria. But the fact is that now Iran, despite all the deterrence that was done by the United States, all the warning given not to retaliate in a proportionate manner, Iran has ignored all those and it has struck back in a very significant way. 331 drones and cruise and tactical ballistic missiles, 185 drones, 36 cruise missiles, 110 tactical ballistic missiles, 331. Now they have struck the most formidable air defense available anywhere in the world, which is in Israel proper. Israel has 3 layers of air defenses. They have the green pine, the green arrow, green pine kind of anti-missile defenses, the Patriots, the David Sling, and the very famous world over known now Iron Dome for the tactical last-ditch defense. In addition, the United States had deployed its naval assets, its naval satellites, its satellites in the space to help Israel with the sensors part of it and also the shooters part of it. American fighters, United Kingdom and France fighters, they were swarmed to shoot down the drones. Now how successful has this military strike been? In purely military terms, I'm not getting into the morality plays. In purely military terms, when we were watching the video screens last night, we counted 7 impacts, 7 separate impacts, and these were biggish impacts. So I don't think it was the drones, these were the cruise/tactical ballistic missile, 7 hits out of 331. In terms of success percentage, that comes to 2.1%. And in terms of the effectiveness of the defenses, 97% effective. 97% destruction of incoming drones come missiles.
Right, sir.
But despite that, what the Iranians are claiming is that we hit the Navatani air base, the Ramon air base, from which the Israeli fighters had taken off to hit their embassy in Syria. So they say revenge achieved. But the situation is dangerous. Further escalation could spin out of control. There could be accidents.
Right, sir.
And a very serious situation could develop.
Okay, let me take this to Major Gaurav Arya, because he takes a rather militaristic position on this. Major, should we have a war or not have a war? Because if Israel wants to achieve its 100% objectives, then obviously it has to choose an open war with Iran and vice versa. Obviously, that's not in the best interest of all the global trade, peace in the world, So is that an objective or not? Accordingly, we decide whether we should go the escalatory, escalatory ladder or escalatory path or not.
Abhishek, first of all, thank you for inviting me to your show. I think Israel has no option but to hit back. How it hit back, when it hit back, where it hit back is up to Israel. Time and place of its choosing, but Israel must hit back. That's number one. Number two, Iran has been playing this game for a very long time. And all these troubles with Hamas and Hezbollah are essentially sponsored by Iran. As I mentioned in your show today afternoon, the reason why Israel hit that embassy compound in Damascus was simply because Israel was trying to hit the head of the snake. One of the senior generals who was killed in that airstrike, he was member of the Shura Council of the Hezbollah. So, you see, what Iran does is directly control, directly fund, directly train, and directly direct these terror outfits. Now, for the first time, yes, there will be escalation if Israel hits back. But this is exactly what Iran wants, in the sense that the world will say, don't respond, there'll be an escalation. Here is my 2 bits or my 2 cents of wisdom, if I may. So what if there is an escalation? So what? That is what kinetic conflicts are for. If there is an escalation, there is an escalation. So, I mean, what would you have Israel do? If Israel does not respond, Iran has already crossed the thin red line. Iran will do this again and again. And there will be a time, if you send in enough missiles, God forbid one day, the David sling will fail. The arrow missiles will fail. It's going to happen. That is what happened on the 7th of October, in a sense. They sent so many missiles, thousands upon thousands, some got through. Right? And this is exactly what Iran, unless you go and hit mainland Iran, unless Israeli fighters, you have the F-35s. F-35 has a negligible radar signature. Iranians do not have any kind of radar that can figure out that an F-35 is coming. Go and bomb them right there.
Okay, Mr. Perelman, you think that's a sentiment there on the ground in Tel Aviv and Jerusalem, that maybe we need to hit back Iran in its homeland, on its territory?
I have a vision that somebody need to make the first step and to stop escalation. If Israel will answer on this missile attack, so it will be next round for escalation. And this will grow without limits. And we need to understand that Iran is not just a single country. It's in some military friendship coalition. And it's necessary to prevent and to stop this action. And one side need to take a smart position and to say, stop this. We need to start to talk. Stop fighting and start to talking. So I think it's the main position, what we can do. To start to talk, it's not very easy. It's also important to have a support of friendly countries or independent countries to make a coalition between different military blocs. But I'm on a position that we need to find a solution how to make peace and to stop escalation.
All right, so a little contradicting position there between Jerusalem, where Mr. Perelman is, or Tel Aviv, and our in-house strategic affairs expert, Major Gaurav Varya. But General G.D. Bakshi, let me get the final word from you before I wrap up the conversation. A quick word from you, sir, on whether, given the fact that Israel also has ended up exposing its defense mechanism to Iran and its proxies by getting its Aero 1, 2, 3, etc. defense system, air defense system, and other mechanisms by which it takes care of its space. Is it the right time to really go the escalatory matrix, or should Israel wait, if at all it has to respond? Because the Americans have made it clear, General Bakshi sir, that they are not going to stand with Israel in terms of providing any military support if it chooses escalation.
You know, the are the Americans going to let this escalate out of control? I think they would be very much interested in keeping things, tamping things down. You see, because I have mentioned they have a strategic objective. They do not want to give a window of opportunity to China to launch an amphibious assault on Taiwan, because they find America heavily preoccupied. And in case Iran, there is a war starts with Iran, then the American forces would be digressed. Instead of pivoting to Asia, they would be stuck halfway somewhere in the Middle East. So I don't think the Americans are very keen. And talking purely from the point of view of self-interest, you know, Iran may lose the war. It cannot win the war against United States and Israel put together, you know. But the simple fact is it is 3,000 arsenal of 3,000 missiles, cruise missiles, ballistic missiles, medium-range ballistic missiles. It can cause havoc in the Middle East. It can hit Israel very hard. It can hit the oil fields. It can close the Straits of Hormuz. The price of oil is almost $90 a barrel. We will be hit. India will be hit in case the world economy takes a hit because of skyrocketing oil prices. The United States is facing an election. So therefore, if the price of oil is already $90 a barrel, and you wait for a few days more and see the way it skyrockets, then it doesn't help anyone. I think the whole world will take an economic hit. All the growth that we are talking of will go up in smoke. So in purely self-interest terms, I'd like to see it, you know, now wind down, now tempers cool, because otherwise there is no end to it. There is no end to it.
All right, there is no end to it. Hopefully better sense would prevail. Wise counsel from wherever it comes would be listened to by both the sides. On that note, thank you so much, General Bakshi, Major Gaurav Arya, Mr. Perelman in Israel, and of course Arjun Hardas for joining us.